What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again today for another video. It's been a while. Honestly, I have really nothing to post about. Happy birthday, Connor Bedard. That's one thing. Um, and I guess I just kind of want to look at the future of the Blackhawks today. What I have on the board is every player within the Blackhawks organization, at least according to Puckpedia. Every single player on the board, my projected lines for next season, my all the prospects they have in the farm system, whether that's signed or unsigned, as well as their cap situation. We'll start with the lineup for next season. The lineup, the Hawks didn't go out. They didn't get a lot of guys in free agency. They got one guy who will play in the NHL, if anything, and he didn't have a single point last year. We'll start at the top, though. We'll go with the first line. Tyler Bertuzzi is signed on $5.5 million until 2028. In his first season with the Hawks, 23 goals, 23 assists, 46 points. That's pretty much what you expect from Bertuzzi, and I was pretty happy with those totals considering the season. I could see those going up as Bedard now hits the age of 20. He's no longer a teenager. He should be getting better. And I could see those totals. Maybe he gets 25 goals and 50 points. Maybe he gets 55. We'll see. Depending, of course, who his line mates are. Then Connor Bedard, we're waiting on an extension for him. He's now eligible to sign one. As I drop my marker. 23 goals, 44 assists, 67 points. Same amount of goals as Bertuzzi in his sophomore season. 6 more points, but he did play a lot more games. $950,000 contract until 2026, where he will be an RFA, of course. That RFA deal, I'm expecting to be 8 years, $11.5 million per year, if I'm being honest. I really wouldn't want to go above that number. $11.5 million seems about right for what he's going to do in this league. And if they want to get him even for 9.8 because of his number, just saying, I'd be perfectly okay with that. Ryan Donato had a career year, and he has been extended handsomely by the Chicago Blackhawks. I wouldn't say handsomely, but he's been extended. 31 goals, 31 assists, 62 points to become second on the Hawks in points last season. $4 million until 2029. Only player on the board, I think, that's extended until 2029. Yeah. No, we got one other guy. We'll get to him later. But that's your first line projected for me, at least. Second line, we have Teravainen, who actually had more points than Bertuzzi, but I think he fits in better with Nazar, who's more of a shooter, as well as Burakovsky. Bertuzzi's a power forward. Bedard's a sniper. Bedard and Donato can kind of do a bit of both. But Teravainen, the playmaker on that line, 15 goals, 43 assists, 58 points, $5.4 million until 2027. Overall, 58 points, 5.4 with the cap going up. I'm perfectly okay with that deal. Again, this team should be getting better. I'm expecting more out of these point totals next year. So we'll see. Nazar, I didn't put them on a games played. Each player played on the board because I would just make the board too much. But in this season, when he was in the NHL, 12 goals, 14 assists, 26 points, $950,000 until 2026 as well, where he will be an RFA. Slotting into that second line center spot is going to be a big responsibility for Nazar. If he can live up to the hype, the first round, 13th overall selection hype, we could have a great second line center on our hands with this team. And if a full season, should probably hit 20 goals. He was well on pace for 20 goals. And at least, I'd probably around the 45 point mark. That'd be a good reach for Nazar to go into. I want to say full year. His first full season starting with the Hawks, we'll say. The newly acquired Andre Burakovsky. Of course, last time I did a video on the Hawks roster, Veleno was still with the team. They trade Veleno for Burakovsky, and Seattle buys out Veleno immediately, who now signed in Montreal. So Burakovsky, last season, 10 goals, 27 assists, 37 points, $5.5 million cap hit until 2027. So for Burakovsky, he's got a fresh start in Chicago. He had injury problems in Seattle pretty much the entire time he had there. Maybe he can have a bounce-back season, get around that 50-point mark, and possibly get around 20 goals. That's where you want Burakovsky to be. The third line is what I like to call the shutdown line, the defensive line, or sell everything line. 3 guys on expiring deals. We'll start with Nick Foligno, the captain of this team. 15 goals, 20 assists, 35 points at age 37 isn't half bad. $4.5 million for this year until he's an unrestricted free agent. A guy I would not mind seeing be moved, of which I'll put an asterisk right there because I would like to see him traded at the deadline for whatever they can get back. Jason Dickinson's another one of those guys. He was injured for a good portion of last season. He did not hit 20 goals again, but 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. $4.25 million cap hit until 2026. Dickinson, if he can be moved at the deadline, be perfectly okay with that. Ilya Mikheyev, the guy who did have a bounce-back year with the Chicago Blackhawks, his first full season with the Hawks. 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points for Ilya Mikheyev. $4.037 million cap hit until 2026. Of course, Vancouver retained when they traded him to us. So, don't have the full cap hit, but Mikheyev, serviceable, speedy, third-line guy. Can play up and down the lineup, and he had 20 goals last year, so you really can't complain about Ilya Mikheyev. Another guy, if they could sell him off at the deadline, sure. Then we have the fourth line. I really don't know what to say about this line, because we got the line that has a lot to prove, but nothing at the same time. The guy who does have a lot to prove is Lukas Reichel. This might be his last chance with the Blackhawks. 8 goals, 14 assists, 22 points. $1.2 million cap hit until 2026, where he will also be a restricted free agent. I would like to see Reichel play higher in the lineup. I would like to preferably see him in the top 6. Maybe get some shifts in with Bedard, put him on the power play, see if he can get anything. Because he was a 2020 first-round pick. I remember that pick. And he's the only I think he's the first-round pick that's left from the start of the decade. If he can't get anything and a team needs depth at the deadline for whatever they can get, I'd be fine with moving Reichel. I'll move him I'll put an asterisk next to there. He was a first-round pick. He's expected to do more. He's more than a fourth-line winger. So for Reichel, a big year ahead of him. If he can put up 15 goals, 15 assists, I'd even be happy with that. The one free agent signing this team made, Dominic Toninato, he had no points last season. $850,000 until 2027. He very much well could be the healthy scratch on this team, or slot in at the fourth line. The reason I have him in the lineup is because I wonder who's going to start in the minors next season. There are some guys who I think might start in the minors over guys who hit. Everyone on this side everyone above this line has played in the NHL, so that's the separation line. That's why I have the extra forwards here, which we'll get to. But Toninato could slot in at the fourth line, depth player. Nothing much to say there. Sam Lafferty was acquired for a 6th-round pick, and he had last season in Buffalo, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. He's been with Chicago before. He had a really good year, but we got a first-round pick out of him and McCabe. And Joey Anderson ended up also coming back in that trade as well. $2 million until 2026. Another guy, if the Hawks are in a spot to sell, which they definitely will be, Lafferty, if anyone wants him, fetch whatever they can for him. That's no issue with that. So 5 guys in the forward group I'd be fine with moving on from, to say the least. Then we got some young guys also, plus Joey Anderson. So we'll start with Landon Slager, who could definitely be a starter on day one. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points last season. $900,000 contract until 2027. He will be an RFA. Slager, decent bottom 6 guy. Bit of the grit in the lineup. He scored the fastest goal in Blackhawks history, I think, last year against Florida. They lost that game 5-1. But yeah, Oliver Moore, he's going to be an interesting one. Where does he slot into this lineup? It could be after the deadline. Let's say they sell off a bunch of these guys. That guys like Moore, Doc, Slager, they get more of a prominent role in the lineup, especially Oliver Moore. He had 4 assists I think he only played 9 games when he came up. $941,000 cap hit until 2027, where he'll be an RFA. Though I'm not sure if he burned a year off his ELC. I'm pretty sure he did not. So him and Renzel should be fine. Colton Dock should be playing more of a role. 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. $825,000 contract. I believe he only played 25 games last season. 2026, he's an RFA. So we have Bedard, we have Nazar, we have Reichel, and we have Dock, who are all RFAs at the end of the season. And we have one last UFA who only played 22 games in the NHL last season, but I put him on the board. Joey Anderson had 1 assist and 1 point last season. $800K until 2026. If someone needs a depth piece, I'm okay with giving up Joey Anderson. Then we have Ryan Green, who came up for 2 games last season, signed his entry-level deal. $950,000 contract until 2027. Of course, probably now 2028. That one will roll over to. Not sure what to expect out of Green. Haven't heard a lot about him. Haven't seen a lot out of him. If he can work his way into the lineup, fantastic. If he proves as a useful asset, awesome. So that's your forward group for the Hawks. Overall, 6 guys I'd be fine with moving off of, and some spaces opening at the end of the season for guys like Oliver Moore, Colton Dock, and Slager to become full-timers. in what might be one of the youngest forward groups in the league next season, the way we're going. And we haven't even mentioned some other pieces. Going to the defense, Alex Vlasic took a next step last season. Was really seen as a defensive defenseman. Now could he be seen as that two-way defenseman? Playing on the top pair, 4 goals, 26 assists, 30 points. $4.6 million until 2030. A lot of eyebrows raised when that contract was signed. Overall, it's looking pretty good right now. Vlasic is a pretty good all-around defenseman. That offensive upside really catching up now. Connor Murphy, defenseman that's on an expiring deal, who's been here for the longest tenured Hawk, I believe. $4.4 million until 2026. He will. I 100% assume he will be moved at the deadline. 2 goals, 17 assists, 19 points for Connor Murphy. And then it's all guys under the age of 22, basically. Starting with Wyatt Kaiser, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. He's currently a restricted free agent, assuming he will be signed. I could see him putting on that second pair. And Artem Levshinov, the second overall pick from last season, 6 assists and 6 points in the games he played last season. $975,000 cap hit until 2027, where he will be an RFA. Kevin Korchinski needs to take another step this season. He had only 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in 16 games last season. $918,000 cap hit until 2026 as well, where he will be an RFA. Louis Crevier is also a current RFA along with Kaiser. 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. Big 6'8" defenseman. Not offense isn't his game. He's someone we won't need as a big body on the defensive side, and he provides that. Extras, 3 more very young defensemen. Nolan Allen, the first-round pick of the Hawks in 2021. 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points. $825,000 cap hit until 2026, where he will also be an RFA. Del Mastro, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. $855,000 cap hit until 2026, where guess what? He will also be an RFA. And Sam Rinzel came up for 9 games with Oliver Moore. No goals, 5 assists, 5 points. Did not look out of place. Could be one of the steals of the draft in the first round. $941,000 cap hit until 2027, where he will also be a restricted free agent. So RFAs in the next 2 years. Starting in 26, Bedard, Nazar, Reichel, Doc, Korchinski, Allen, Del Mastro, and then 2027, we got Moore as of right now, Slaggert, Green as of right now, Levshinov, and Rinzel. And not to mention Kaiser and Crevier are both still RFAs waiting to be signed. I very much assume they will be, unless one of these defensemen is moved off in a trade. I could see a place where one of these defensemen is moved off because the Hawks kind of have too many defensemen. Goaltending. We'll get a full season of Spencer Knight in his first tenure as the starter on an NHL team. 5 wins, 8 losses, 2 OT losses with the Hawks last season. .890 save percentage, $4.5 million cap hit until 2026, where he's an RFA. Arvid Soderblom is currently an RFA, and he had a fantastic bounce-back season after he was unusable the year prior. 10 wins, 18 losses, 7 overtime or shootout losses, .898 save percentage. See how much he signs for. I'm assuming no more than $1.5 million. I assume he'll be the backup, because Laurent Brossoit is, who knows where he is. $3.3 million until 2026. Did not play last season. Honestly, if he's healthy, you could dump him for future considerations, and I'd be fine with it. And then, of course, I'll put on the board. He played in 2 games, only got the record in 1. Drew Commesso, 0-1 with an .846 save percentage, $925,000 cap hit in 2026, where he is also an RFA. Commesso, I assume, will play the backup role. Not this year, following the next season. I assume maybe after the deadline in 2027, Commesso comes up and maybe plays the backup. Or if not, he probably should be full-time backup by 27, 28. We will see. We'll move down here before we get to the signed and unsigned guys. LTIR, the Hawks have Weber's contract. $7.857 million until 2026. That comes off the books finally. That was a 14-year deal given out back in, would have been 2011, 2012? Yeah. The buyout for TJ Brody. So Brody is off this team. The Hawks maybe could have used a veteran defenseman, but they have 9 defensemen ready to play in the NHL right now. $3.23 million this year for 2026, and then only $258,000 in 2027. The Josh Bailey buyout came off this year. The retentions on Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen are up, so that allowed them to buy out Brody and not have to worry about it. And then the retentions, Seth Jones, $2.5 million until 2030, which isn't a lot right now, but I feel like as the Hawks get better and they start spending money and paying their guys, hopefully that $2.5 million does not come back to bite them in the you-know-what. In terms of forwards that are signed and unsigned, prospects, if you will, the big one, I put the asterisks, I always have problems with that word, next to the big names. Anton Frondell, will he make this team? If he doesn't, he's going back to Sweden, I presume. He signed his entry-level deal. Third overall pick this season. We have a lot of centers on this team, which is good because having a lot of centers means they're versatile players. Centers can always play the wing. And I wouldn't be surprised in the future if Bedard moves off the center or Nazar moves off center and plays on the wing, since they're more of shoot-first guys. Maybe Moore and Frondell take the center spots in the future. Vanacker is another one, another former first-round pick last season. We'll see what Vanacker, if he maybe cracks the lineup. Maybe he makes an appearance in preseason. I don't think he'll be with the NHL roster this season. Ludwinski is a guy I'm keeping my eye on, although I didn't put an asterisk next to his name. But one guy that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. Aiden Thompson, Martin Misiak. AJ Spellacy played in preseason last season. He looked pretty good in it. Gavin Hayes, who was also acquired in the trade we got for Nazar. That was a three-way deal between Doc, Romanoff, and then the Hawks ended up getting Nazar and Hayes. Nick Lardis, who was putting up big numbers with his teammate Marek Vanacker, in the OHL, I believe. Was it the Brandon Wheat Kings they were on, or something like that? Ironically enough, Brandon. But Lardis, hopefully he's, in a couple of years, is cracking this NHL roster once we move off of maybe Teravainen and Burakovsky. Other guys on this roster, maybe they're the ones that replace them eventually. This could be a very fun young team to watch in the future, especially with the cap going up so much. And then we have Samuel Savoie. Not sure what to expect of him. Not maybe a guy that never cracks an NHL roster, but overall, it's a good prospect to have. I could see potential there. On the defense, most of their defensemen are in the majors, so there's not a lot. They have Tage Harding, Mast, who they acquired for Soderstrom, and Dmitry Kuzmin, who they acquired for Isaac Phillips. Do I expect any of them to make the NHL roster? Not with this NHL roster. Do I expect them to ever crack the NHL? It's possible, maybe as a seventh defenseman or bottom pairing here and there. None of them have shown potential to be that top four or something like that. But who knows? Some guys bloom late. And then the most recent signing the Hawks made, they signed a goaltender out of the VHL? That's in the Tier 2 league in Russia. Berezone? I have no idea how to pronounce his name. But I assume he'll be playing behind Comesso and Rockford this season. So for the Rockford Ice Hogs, good forward group. Defense could be a bit lacking. I mean, some of these guys are definitely, I assume Del Mastro will start in the minors. Brinzel, I assume, is going to start in the minors, so that'll give them some reinforcements. And maybe Allen's the seventh defenseman on this team, and they keep Slaggert and Anderson or Doc. I assume Moore will go down to the minors as well to play. That could be a hell of a line. Frondell, Vanacker, and Moore. Oh, that could be pretty nasty. But Frondell's going back to Sweden, so I'm not worried about that. It's a good problem to have when you have too many forwards, or pretty much any position. Now we have unsigned guys. These are guys that might never sign with the team, as well as undrafted picks. So you have Kayumov, you have James, you have Tohila. Kantserov is a guy I have an asterisk next to because I'm very interested in his development in the KHL. Guy that looks like he could be a sniper, and I'm very interested in him. Felsman, Mustard, who I've heard a bit about. Pridham, Svensson, Bem, Sumpf, Holmes. And then there are two first-round picks besides Frondell this season. Nestrazel and West. West won't come over for a while. Nestrazel, we'll see. Both big players. That's the size the Hawks need. Hawks right now, they have Bedard, Nazar. Kind of a small group of guys. The defense is getting a little bigger, but these Nestrazel and West still provide size in the future, hopefully, that the team will desperately need. Unsigned defensemen, you have Peltonen, you have Ty Henry, and you have Cumby. Again, not really much to say about those guys. Goaltending, you have Gajan. Or Gajan, I'm not sure. But he's definitely an interesting prospect. He could be the next guy after Comesso. And then they drafted in the 7th round Konarski. So we'll see how those guys develop. Overall, where do I see this team? No playoffs this year. If they get Gavin McKenna, oh my gosh. That's all I got to say about that. If they get Gavin McKenna, you can move off of someone. Absolutely. Someone will be gone. They won't re-sign Dickinson or Mikheyev, or I don't expect Dickinson to return after the season. Lafferty I expect to be gone. And Murphy, I expect to be traded at the deadline because he's probably the most valuable asset on this team if you're going to trade anyone out right now. And we thought there would be moves last year as well, but Donato didn't end up being traded, and neither did Kurashev. He walked in free agency. And yeah, only person that was traded, you had Craig Smith and Peter Mrazek to Detroit for Joe Veleno, who's now gone, so that was a wash. And then you had Seth Jones was traded, that was before the deadline. But overall, they didn't make a lot of moves last offseason, or last trade deadline. So 2026, I'm going to say no playoffs. 2027, I'm going to say no playoffs. 2028, I'm going to say that's where you should be getting close to a wild card spot. That's where the jump needs to happen. And then 2029, I'm expecting playoffs. That's my year right now, 2029. At that point, it'll be 9 years since they have made the playoffs, or I should say 2028-29 season. It'll be 9 seasons since they last made the playoffs, so hopefully by then won't be in a Buffalo slump and be missing for 14, 15 years. But yeah, so let me know down below what you think of this team, what you think of the future of this team, and how do you think this team's going to do this season? Give a record prediction, give a guy who you think might be moved at the deadline. What would you do if you were the GM of the team, essentially? I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and I shall see you all in the next one. Have a good one.